absolutely. Their connection to each other has been great in game, and already Sentinels is attacking one of the patterns that we noticed from LYON in the past few days, and that's with the Nocturne ban. So often in these game ones, the Orianna and the Azir get traded, but what LYON has consistently done is they trade and take the Nocturne because the Nocturne then turns the Control Mage matchup, but they've gone ahead, gotten rid of both the Akali and the Nocturne to hopefully protect DARKWINGS Orianna first pick a little bit more.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we are just going to see the Azir as the trade. Saint definitely a big fan of that pick in particular. And it is kind of the standard these days. You know, not as many AD jungle bans on the table as we had seen yesterday. We had been seeing so many bans in that series, you know, focused on the AD junglers that did push people a little bit outside of the norm as far as those picks go, even allowing us to see things like that flex pick Ornn in the jungle.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, just trading the 2 picks. But now is likely to be the blind pick junglers, unless Inspired wants to do something crazy in game 1. Fairly unlikely, though, with very standard draft going on so far. All the global junglers have been banned away, with the Pantheon going out as well. And an interesting takeaway here, Inspired, while he is a fine Jarvan, I think it's more of a takeaway pick from HamBak, with Jarvan being one of his favorite picks.
Yeah, I think, you know, for a game 1, you're kind of expecting people to pick, you know, one of Pantheon, which is banned out, and then Xin, Jarvan, Vi. Those are the other 3 that are generally kind of first game type of tier for those AD junglers. And it is basically exclusively AD junglers these days with the AP mid laners. So HamBak will get his choice if I'm expecting, as I said, the Vi or the Xin. It's really just what he thinks fits the composition. And in this case, it is going to be the Xin. And I think it makes sense for Sentinels because huhi is such a strong engage player. They don't necessarily need to have HamBak, you know, playing on that Vi, playing that engage role, because huhi can easily fill that.
This is where I'm really glad that we have Fearless, because I'm totally fine looking at the Orianna Azir handshake once a series.
Yes.
That's great.
Never again.
And then, okay, the AD junglers, great guys, have at it. Renekton, perfect. Blind that thing that first game. And that's what we see in so many of these series. A little bit interesting, though, that they have already pulled out the Renekton, allowing Dhokla an early counter pick if he chooses for this Renekton.
Yep, the Varus, of course, is banned out, though, by LYON themselves. So that was the counter pick he was able to bring out yesterday against Morgan, get a solo kill in that matchup. Gnar is the standard answer that we see most of the time in the LCS. So Dhokla doesn't necessarily have to go too crazy, and he is just going to lock in that Gnar. So pretty much as standard gets here for the first 3 picks on both sides. The top side of the map has been locked in, so it's just going to be bot lane focus bans. If I'm LYON, I'm probably targeting huhi a bit, trying to trim that engage support pool a bit, and see if you can get a more preferential matchup as a result, because it feels like you kind of know, given the first 3, that huhi is going to be playing engage.
Absolutely. The Gnar is very standard from a theoretical perspective, but it's not really a Dhokla pick. It's the first Gnar that he's played this year, and historically, in the 423 games on Games of Legends, he has only 11 Gnar games and 2 Gnar wins. So he's 2-9 on Gnar all time in his career, which, considering he's been playing in pro since 2017, very, very low pick rate actually for Dhokla. So not a Gnar specialist by any means.
No, absolutely. I mean, generally when you look at a lot of these longtime top laners, Gnar is one of their, you know, at least in their top 5, right? Because it has been such a consistent champion for so long. Ashe is going to be banned out, which is kind of that double ban towards the Ashe Seraphine bot lane, which has become so highly prioritized these days. It is so strong. Nautilus is going to be banned out on the other side. Still a ton of AD picks are up and available. Kind of conspicuously absent from the ban list right now are champions like Corki and Yunara, Aphelios, Ezreal. You know, those are the ones that I'm kind of expecting they will go towards in this first game. And it's just really dealer's choice, especially on the LYON side. You know, they could just go one of these kind of hyper-scaling Lulu plus Aphelios or Yunara pairings, since they already have good engage with the Jarvan. Yeah,
the Lulu as well as the Ashe bans from LYON definitely cut out, I'd say, 2 of the more explosive scaling lanes, like the Yunara Lulu as well as the Ashe Seraphine, which are oftentimes like game 1 drafts now with how the meta is evolving. So a lot of almost defensive banning there by LYON, but I'm still going to be really interested in this Gnar versus Renekton matchup, only because Impact, those are his 2 most played all time, is Renekton and Gnar. And then Dhokla is just opting into, you know, a Gnar Renekton battle with a Master.
Yeah, Impact has a lot of experience in that kind of matchup. And Impact has been having a bit of a resurgence this year. Received a lot of criticism on his last year's performance with Team Liquid. Him and APA, honestly, a lot of people felt like kind of got thrown under the bus. But lo and behold, they have both surpassed what TL has accomplished this split, which has got to feel really good for them with TL getting knocked out yesterday.
Must be super vindicating for them.
Karma Ezreal.
Outlasting TL. I also can't believe I didn't mention it. Finished 4th again. It just, you know, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Well, Karma gets locked in, so that almost guarantees it's going to be Karma Ezreal. And Berserker had a really impressive Ezreal game in their final game against Jan's Lucian, was really out-trading him in the mid lane, showcasing his skill on that pick. Looked really, really strong. So the question is, where does Sentinels want to go? Corki Nami would be a really powerful laning duo to try to match. It does mean they are very light on engage, but that is the option that they're looking for. So it is a bit of a different style of comp here for Sentinels because your only true engage is, you know, Xin dashing in, a Renekton flank, you know, Nami tidal wave. There's no real guaranteed go buttons. Whereas on the other side, you have Inspired on Jarvan, who has that clear start to a fight.
Jarvan and Azir, the main engagers for LYON. For Sentinels, it's anyone with Orianna Ball flashing with the ult is kind of what they're going to have to do. But I would say, just because of the relative mobility of the Sentinels team comp, there's fairly low engage on both sides, so I would expect a slightly slower pace of game unless someone tries to play really aggressively in the enemy space.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Inspired wants to get active early. He is a player who generally highly prioritizes his farm, wants to keep his CS up, you know, really is an incredible team fighter, but he can play all of the different styles. And I do have some concerns for Sentinels because, you know, when I'm looking over there, you are really light on engage, and you're really light on engage against Ezreal and Azir, who are two champions that are very difficult to lock down. You know, great disengage, obviously, with the Emperor's Divide. Ezreal's just hard to lock down, period. So I am a little bit worried for them. And yes, there is good mobility on the Sentinel side, but I think Orianna is kind of that clear target for the Jarvan. You know, lock down the Orianna. If she doesn't have flash, that can be problematic. So we'll see how Sentinels is going to problem solve. They have really strong lanes. So hey, when you're light on engage, it doesn't always matter if you win your lanes because you can get ahead, be first to the objective. Yeah,
I give a slight edge to the LYON draft. Also a slight edge to LYON in this series, based off of what we've seen yesterday in their run through the lower bracket. Going to be very interesting to see who takes this series and goes on to face Cloud9 in the grand finals tomorrow.
It's going to be exciting, kicking things off here. One team going to be moving on to finals to face Cloud9 tomorrow, and the other will be eliminated in third place, but they will still go to Brazil either way. So both these teams have at least secured a trip there to compete in America's Cup. But game one going to be kicking things off, and interested to see what kind of a pace Sentinels wants to play, how aggressive they're going to get here. LYON, of course, just had, you know, a 4-game series yesterday, so I think that they're going to be feeling a lot more kind of warmed up, so to speak, compared to Sentinels. Yeah,
that's always the balance between fatigue versus warmed up. I do feel like, having experienced a little bit as well, the series the day before is generally more of a benefit than a detriment, just because more so when there's road shows. When there's studio shows, it's a little bit less because this is a familiar environment for everyone, but still, just being in the exact same seats 2 days in a row, I think can give you a little bit of confidence right out the gate.
Yeah, and I mean, when you're thinking about the last 2 series that these teams played, LYON is coming off of a big win against TL, feeling hyped up, and Sentinels is coming off of an absolute smackdown by Cloud9, where, you know, in that upper bracket, that series was not very close. So even just confidence-wise, that can get into your mind. So we'll see how they're going to perform. Saint has just been fantastic, though, for LYON throughout the playoffs. Really has been performing. So I think DARKWINGS has a pretty big job for Sentinels here today. He's got to perform.
Completely agree. Someone who performed great yesterday, though, was Dhokla with his crazy picks. Varus in game 1, meta champ. Wow, to do that game 2. Wins with Aurelia and Vayne. Really turned that series around. Not only the Vayne in the game 4, but then the Orange Jungle, I think, really confused Team Liquid. And then today, even though it's a standard pick, it's not standard for Dhokla, but we'll see if he can continue that level of performance on unique picks to him.
And the thing that impressed me most is not even that he brought out these picks, it's that LYON as a whole played so well around the strengths and weaknesses of the picks.
True.
It just felt like they had such a good understanding of how to play it out, right? You know, when they were weak, they were just playing sides. And then once, you know, they were playing that Varus game and they get to late game, and then all of a sudden there's Seeker's Arm Guards on everyone, there's Zhonya's on everyone, and TL doesn't really have an opportunity to actually team fight. Well, now LYON is going to show up to the Dragons and look to team fight you. So just such a good understanding. Really was impressed by how they played that out. And Inspired here is down towards that bottom side, but looking for a potential angle here onto DARKWINGS.
Yep, skipping Crab for a gank, maybe looking to get Flash.
Yeah, just going to try to wrap around DARKWINGS. He wants to go towards that top side. Scuttlebee's going to flash back over the wall here, and DARKWINGS trying to flash out. He is slowed. Will be able to walk it out. At the end of the day, it's a trade of flashes. Jungler for mid lane. Impact, though, going in aggressive here on a Dhokla. Bone plating likely to keep him alive, but is pushed quite low.
Yep, so Dhokla going to have to reset here. Knows Inspired is in the top river, so isn't that fearful of a jungler diving him. Impact goes in and gets a plate, and here's HamBak.
Yeah, heal going to be forced out early there by Sentinels as Rahel just valked in onto Isles. He popped the heal, and they knew they didn't have their jungle on that side of the map, so had to play defensive, but it's just a nice little trade for them at the end of the day, and they do have that sustain advantage with Nami, plus the 2 potions are still in inventory for huhi.
Yeah, I do really like what Inspired did with that mid gank, though, trading flash for flash, because a lot of times, for instance, as they go in for really aggressive trade.
For the Rue here, it's going to land. In comes the ship from Berserker. He's looking to knock down Rahel. Rahel is just going to be gone. It's first blood there for Berserker, and now huhi flashes out, but he is killed off as well. That is the passive stacks. That is the lethal tempo stacks there on the Ezreal, who is so powerful in these early game fights.
What a 2v2 kill there by Berserker and Isles. Isles saw the angle, flashed in right away, and clearly Berserker was on the same page, and now a flashless Orianna.
Surprise, the knockup is there. Saint shifts on in, and DARKWINGS looks like he is going to fall. He is knocked down as well. It's LYON off to a roaring start as Dhokla's looking for a solo kill in the top lane.
Every single lane just explodes at once for LYON. Yesterday they played this slow, scaling game. Here they're throwing uppercuts right off the bat, and you can see Berserker just knows he's strong. Isles flashes in. There's no mana left on huhi, so they don't have to fear any bubbles or Nami's spells. And once he's at melee range, it's just auto attacks, weaves that W in for the second auto, and accelerates his own gold.
This is one of these things people think about Ezreal as a weak early game champ. You know, you have to scale up, you have to get your tier, you have to get your spikes. Well, he had lethal tempo stack and the passive stacks, so he has so much bonus attack speed in that fight that he is just going to destroy you in these situations. And they knew exactly how strong they were. Rahel and huhi maybe had a little bit of false confidence after getting Isles so low, thanks to that gank from HamBak, and as a result, they get destroyed, and now LYON out to a really strong early lead.
Yeah, I say a lot of times Ezreal is weak in your solo queue games. When it's Berserker or a top tier 80 carry,
it's a different champion.
No, it's a totally different champion because they're landing their Qs, they're utilizing the passive, they're utilizing that lethal tempo, and it's also why a lot of people hate seeing it with Yuumi, because then you actually have to play weak. Because the champion is actually very strong in early laning phase, but to get back to this mid lane, things have gone from bad to worse. Burning the flash early usually sets up a level 6 Azir shuffle, but they then killed him pre-6. Now the shuffle's up, and the flash is still gone from DARKWINGS, so he has to play incredibly safe now.
Yeah, and Zayn didn't even have to trade flashes at all during that whole extended sequence. So things looking really good for LYON. As you can see, the bot lane roaming up to help Inspired secure that crab. It will not be contested. Sentinels looking to see, is there an angle to steal away some camps, to do something up here?
This is the classic. Everything is going well for LYON. What do teams do? They try and kill Dhokla. It's just what everyone goes for when things are going a bit pear-shaped. But Dhokla doesn't let the wave crash. He's in Mega, so it looks like DARKWINGS has to go back and catch his wave. Inspired's going to lose his Gromp, but he's going to be up a Drake.
Yeah, and I mean, they have got to know what is going on because no one is showing up down to this dragon. So Dhokla is just trying to thin the wave as much as he possibly can, but now he is in mini form. So he's trying to contest impact. He's trying to stop this from crashing. He clearly knows that the dive could be coming.
He's buying time for Inspired to make his way up the top lane. So Inspired just based. He's moving up. And really nice job there by Dhokla, keeping the minions away from the turret.
Yeah, they're going to go in, though. Dominus is going to be popped. There's the stun. Dhokla hopping back, but can he get out to safety? No. HamBak pops the Crescent Guard and knocks him down with that Spear to the Heart.
Inspired might go for the kill.
Inspired in. Cataclysm is there. You are locked into the tower. Inspired uses that tower to shoot down the Croc, and now even going to try to threaten to pull the wave, but the next wave is very far away. This would be a long freeze.
Well, he wants to do Dhokla solid. Dhokla gave the kill gold to Inspired, only got the assist himself, and also now that Dhokla has his upgraded steel caps, that's the break point that these Gnar players talk about in these matchups. Going to save him a few minions, and he goes back to his camp, but Dhokla should actually be okay in this lane now that he's got his armor boots.
Yep, going to be having that tab. He's all about the move speed, playing fleet footwork for the same reason as Berserker shifting in. True Shot Barrage just barely tags huhi. Tried to get out to the side, couldn't avoid it. Is going to be sent low and sent back to base. LYON just feeling like they are on fire. And when you're playing with so much pressure across these lanes, there's not that many engage tools again for Sentinels, so it's easier to just feel like, hey, I can just play in their face and outplay the ganks.
Yeah, it's going to be a very difficult game for Sentinels from this point. Inspired off to a very good start on the Jarvan. All of his lanes are in a good state, and especially whenever you have that Ezreal Karma, able to get the 2v2 kill on their own, and then also not even playing aggressively enough that they even have to worry about ganks. Like, they're freezing the wave and getting strong poke off. It's just making it an easy game for Inspired to manage.
Huhi going to try to get a little bit of a deep vision here. But we do have some friends become foes here today, as it is Impact versus Inspired. Played together on EG, had a lot of success there. Back on the really much beloved Danny JoJo roster. We're able to win together there. All-time head-to-head, though, pretty heavily in Impact's favor.
That's the one that surprised me a little bit when I saw this, with Impact going from EG over to Team Liquid. If Inspired sweeps today, though, he'd move that very close to 8-8. It would be 8-7 if he's able to take the 3 games, because Inspired really feels like he's leveled up this Lion team an extreme amount throughout the lock-in tournament.
I mean, I think that's one of the things you really have to give Inspired credit for, is it feels like he does that with every team he joins, right? You know, whether it was back on Rogue or with EG with these rookies, or now on Lion, you know, he always seems to make the teams better around him. You know, some people love his personality, some people don't like it, but you cannot deny the guy's skill, and you cannot deny the guy's impact on the game and on the teams that he's joining.
Yeah, and I love the tools that we have as a viewer now, because I'd say like 8 years ago when we'd say like, oh yeah, this guy's a shot caller, this guy's making a big difference, he's telling people how to play the game. Like, we see Inspired actually does that. He's, before fights, saying exactly how the fight's going to play out, when he wants the team to engage. Mid-fight, he's shot calling. Post-fight, he's saying what to do next. It's really impressive to watch.
It really is extremely impressive. And having gotten to be on the desk with him and have chats with him over the years, I'm always impressed by the minutia he knows in these matchups. As Saint is going to go in, looks for the Emperor's Divide. Nice flash from DARKWINGS, keeps him safe, because Inspired was waiting the wings. But you can talk to him about, is Inspired now going to look back? Can't quite get in range. So DARKWINGS playing this well. Yeah, you can talk to him about the specifics of a mid lane matchup, of a bot lane matchup, of a top lane matchup. He has opinions and strong feelings about every detail in the game.
Even support play. So after the series yesterday, I was able to overhear a discussion he had with Isles. They talked for about 3 minutes about one Karma team fight and how the Karma should be using the abilities. So it takes a lot of energy for Inspired for sure, and you know they got a little burned out at the end of last year, but he is refreshed currently on this Lion team, trying to win lock-in tournament.
Absolutely is. Impact, though, the one with an advantage for Sentinels right now, just a couple hundred gold in his favor. The real problem is going to be the bot lane for sure, as Berserker, again, talked about it in draft, very hard to lock down the Ezreal when you have no hard engage, and he is playing with a real advantage. Already has the Triforce completed, stacking up the tier. Berserker's going to be in an incredible spot, and Inspired is just playing towards his lanes. You know, he's farming efficiently, he's showing up to cover these pushing lanes and looking for as many gank opportunities as he can find. HamBak, though,
Saint has to dash away as Inspired's taking a little bit of control of the bot jungle, really trying to set up with this Mountain Drake starting in about 13 seconds.
Gonna be looking for that, as we can see the first Master Card power spike of the game coming through. An early Nashers for Saint, which is really going to help to ramp up the damage for this next objective fight.
Yeah, any type of extended fight, he's going to be pumping out a lot here. And it's actually Sentinels who pull the Drake, but it's a little bit difficult here. They might be hoping for some type of Xin knockup. Yeah, they have to run away from that one with no real way of turning off the Drake when Lion retakes.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult because Lion have the bot lane push. Berserker's going to come over and look for this poke. Isles in the area. You can see the ball strapped to HamBak, but Saint is going to be pushing in mid lane, and Lion are just trying to get control of these lanes first, then move to the fight. Now HamBak going back in.
How many more times can we do this? Go back, hit the wave, collapse on Drake, see Sentinels walk away, and then Sentinels goes, catches the wave again.
I think Sentinels are trying to buy a little bit of time here, but Dhokla is prepping his Narbar as well. True Shot Barrage going to go wide. HamBak still working on this Dragon. Looks like it might just be a flip here, as this is getting incredibly low, and Lion decide, you know what? It's not worth the risk. We're just going to back off, continue playing for these waves, as Berserker grabs a plate there.
I mean, that was a situation where Sentinels was willing to sacrifice more minions for the Drake than Lion was. Saint went back to mid lane, Berserker went back to bot lane, and you could see Inspired, just looking at the state of the game, decided he didn't want to try and walk through to give Sentinels a team fight that they wouldn't otherwise be able to force themselves. Now he's top lane.
Yeah, Dhokla could be in some trouble here. Saint and Inspired coming in to try to back him up. HamBak is behind Impact, but Impact gets the bad news that Lion is there to cover their top laner. And he chased him for a while, so he actually lost, you know, a few minions there, most of a wave, as he was chasing Dhokla, who was just kind of proxying between towers, trying to be as annoying as he possibly could.
Absolutely, and Berserker trying to apply more pressure on the bot lane here as well. When we look at the way that Lion won their series yesterday against Team Liquid, it did feel like the laning strength of Team Liquid was top lane with Morgan, and in draft, they specifically tried to take that away from Team Liquid, and it was very successful. And then yesterday in the interview, Inspired mentioned actually huhi and HamBak, they're what's really strong about Sentinels and how they're always connected, but with this Ezreal Karma and how well Isles and Berserker are playing it, huhi doesn't get the opportunity to roam. He's stuck in this lane the entire time because of the advantage that LYON has created, so they've also, in a sense, taken that strength away from Sentinels with the way they've drafted this game 1.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think Sentinels felt pressured to draft a strong 2v2 because they're going up against Ezreal Karma. So they're saying, hey, maybe I can't play Rakan or something. We'll get blasted in lane too hard. Unfortunately for them, they lost lane anyway and now don't have huhi on an engage champ, which is such a strength for him. Dhokla was able to pick up the red buff that had been stolen away from the enemy jungle, and that's going to feel really nice in this range versus melee matchup. Interesting to see that DARKWINGS is also going for the torch build here instead of what we've seen become so popular, which is just Ludens into Shadowflame. Like the full-on burst style builds are so popular for Orianna these days, and instead it is going to be that Blackfire torch, just going a little bit of a different route.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more poke with the Blackfire torch here. I think this is probably, certain control mage players will get mad. They all kind of average out to be very similar. They're just all the AP, mana, damagey items, so I think the Blackfire torch is totally fine.
Yeah, it's definitely fine. I think it'll be interesting to see where he goes from here, if he is going flat AP or if he's going more, you know, utility, if he's stacking burn or going more defensive. Because I do think against these teams, especially when you're lacking an engage, having that really powerful upfront burst of Ludens, Shadowflame, Deathcap, Sork Boots, you know, for that kind of like one punch, is sometimes the only chance you'll get to connect damage onto these targets. But Sentinels and LYON just scrapping it out here around mid lane. These 3-man squads both staying around, and it's just going to set Inspired up to take this scuttle once again.
Yeah, and you can see that LYON isn't trying to play high-risk League of Legends whatsoever. They recognize that Sentinels doesn't have good engage options, so Inspired's only going to go in for a fight if it's hard winning. It seems like if it's even a chance of they're losing the fight, he's just walking away, because that's really the only way Sentinels gets a chance of a fight, is if LYON's the one that engages.
Exactly. I mean, LYON, if they play properly, are going to be the ones who get to choose every single fight, pretty much the whole game, right? So that is a big advantage for them. They played so well towards win conditions yesterday, and we can see Berserker going to be able to grab a blue buff, so he's on blue buff, red buff, and is going to be feeling really good sitting in the mid lane. Inspired has been hovering these lanes so effectively, but because his pathing is so efficient, he's basically right dead even with HamBak, even though it feels like every time we look on the screen, he is in a lane, he is threatening a gank, he is covering for his laners. He just feels like he's been very present, even though he's keeping his farm so high, and he's just 1-0-1.
Really true. You can see Wolves getting finished on his way to Raptors. We'll see if he ends up going Krugs to just keep those completely on respawn, and then once he finishes that, he'll have another 30 seconds or so of free time, as will HamBak, for what it's worth, with the Drake coming up in 1 minute. But it is pretty clear that the overall map control has been in the favor of LYON, especially through mid-bot right now. But Impact getting a little bit of free time on this top trade.
Yeah, we'll see where Sentinels wants to challenge next. If they are going to be going to this next dragon here, it's going to be spawning at about 45. And LYON do have vision in the area. They already have the scuttle. They already have some wards in the river, and Sentinels are going to have to start retaking vision here pretty quickly. HamBak just now basing, feels a little bit late, as you can see on the top side, Dhokla just chasing after Impact, and Impact getting a very bad end of this trade.
Yeah, nice job by Dhokla. Trinity Force completed. Seeing if he can get that 3rd Gnar win in his career. In this one. Actually, he honestly looks completely fine on it.
Quality over quantity of wins, you know? This would be a really good win.
It would be up against Impact. Ooh, he might have a chance for a dive here, but it's a matter of how much risk is he willing to take. There is an ult up on Impact.
Oh, that would have killed him.
And Flash.
Impact's so brave to not actually Dominus there. That boomerang kills him if it tags him, and that was very close, but we'll give Impact the credit. He knows the ranges. Like you said, these are 2 of his most played champions.
Yeah, doesn't have teleport, though, to even join this Drake fight, whereas Dhokla is going to be able to finish off this turret. So LYON's going to play this slow. They're just going to wait. I imagine they'll wait for Dhokla to finish this turret and maybe even teleport back. But he pops Mega.
Yeah, Impact's just running, though, so he could actually join the fight here. We'll see if Dhokla does want to TP or if they're just going to decide to give this one up. LYON trying to posture pretty aggressively, but DARKWINGS doing a good job zoning them out with the ball for now. And Impact is here first. Saint is on the side. Dragon will be given up, and Dhokla just continues pushing. They know Impact roamed. He has no TP, so we're just going to keep farming gold here for the Gnar. This is similar to how they played yesterday.
LYON is very willing, much like the first Drake, much like yesterday, to trade gold for these objectives. Sentinels is dropping a turret and several waves top, they were dropping an entire wave bot, and now the bot turret in exchange for these Drakes. So now, that next Drake will be like a 5,000 gold lead if LYON finally decides to fight.
I mean, yeah, they just knocked down the tower top. They farmed more plates, and that was the only place they had a gold lead was top, and now he's down 1K off of that move. So that is a lot of gold. Saint gets a big gold injection. He's on a quick 2-item power spike as he elects to go for the Rylai. So that is in for 2 items. Ezreal's already done 2 items. They get the mid lane tower as well. LYON are completely running away with this game, and it just feels like it's mostly through map play.
And it's this low-risk League of Legends where they're relying on their laning. A big beneficiary of this has been Saint in Swiss stage versus the playoffs. He is the one that's cleaned up his play the most. He was getting caught, I think, overplaying his hand time and time again, but now he's just kind of taking what's given to him. He's great in lane, he's great in team fights, and just has insane stats throughout all 7 games of these playoffs.
Yeah, he's been playing really, really well, and it does feel like LYON are just playing the macro game so well. Inspired, moving around the map effectively, always covering these laners. Again, going to be showing up here. And this was kind of similar to an issue that Sentinels ran into against C9 last week, where, you know, they had this 5-man play where they moved top. And so this is talking about Sven in that matchup, because he was such a big part. This is basically the gold amount that they had at 5 minutes into the game. And then over a couple minutes, it really was even, you could isolate it even more. It went from basically a 250 gold lead to a 2,000 gold lead, where Sentinels sent 5 members top, tried to look for this play, and C9 just played the map, farmed towers, then, you know, got the full tower for Sven bot, pulled off a dive, got him first blood, and it just felt like the game was over. And it is feeling kind of similar to this one, where it feels like Sentinels are feeling pressured. Hey, we really got to get this dragon. We got to stack these dragons. Impact, you need to get down here. You have no TP. And LYON's like, okay, sure, cool. You have 2 dragons. We have a 5,000 gold lead.
I think that's a really good call out, that it's almost exactly the same thing that happened. Although in this case, I'd say it is still, like, quote, better play by Sentinels than last week, because last week it was all around a top dive that didn't materialize. Here, like, actually, they are right. Their only win condition is stacking Drakes, because if they can ever force LYON to fight them, it would be at a Soul or a Baron. But it's just the fact that LYON also knows Sentinels win conditions, and Inspired is making sure that they're prioritizing gold for when they eventually have to fight anyway.
And Inspired now completes his 2nd item. Dhokla surely will be on his 2nd item before this next dragon, you have to think. So LYON all going to be on pretty big power spikes, and the question is if people like DARKWINGS can really catch up, if Impact can catch up and get to that item completion. Rocket Barrage going to go a bit wide. Sentinels just trying to siege this tower. They have 4 members here. No one answering Saint for now. And Sentinels will now send Impact up towards that top side, but
Poke by Berserker.
Saint could be pretty annoying, and Rahel is just taking Mystic Shot after Mystic Shot, forced to Valk over the wall. And they're bleeding out minions on that top side as Dhokla as well, and the bot side is kind of chasing DARKWINGS out of the lane.
Yeah, but I mean, just look at the waves. They were, a lot of times, they're setting up in all 3 waves at once. They're doing a lot of 1-3-1, which normally is pretty risky because the other team can overload one side and dive you, but because it's such a low engaged comp, they're kind of just chilling in 3v4s. They're like, okay, you're going to send 4 mid, maybe you get a plate. Inspired doesn't even show in that Raptor bush. He's saying, okay, if you dive, then I'll show up, because that's when I'd actually have to fight. But otherwise, I'm totally fine. You get a plate, my Azir gets a whole wave top lane that you're dropping, and this gold lead is just ever increasing.
Yeah, the explosive engage for Sentinels is pretty much Impact flashes and stuns you, and that's basically all they have. Or you can try to prep Q3 for HamBak and then flash in and knock someone up in Shockwave, things like this. But if they are on your screen and you see them prepping for that, it's pretty hard to make it happen. So Berserker just playing with the utmost confidence here, working in towards that 3rd item. Steric's now complete for Dhokla, so he's going to be even harder to take down. Of course, Rahel, you know, is working towards his 3rd item. You know, is reasonably strong in the Corki, but is that 2K almost behind. And DARKWINGS is going for a pretty defensive build here. He's actually going in for the Zonias. So Blackfire Torch in his Zonias, it is going to be a lot less burst than the Luden's plus Shadow Flame that we normally see. And, you know, that could be problematic. Yes, it answers the dive because he knows, hey, he's the low mobility guy. He's the main target for Jarvan. Yeah. But it also gives you less chance if you finally find an engage.
Yeah, they need damage somehow because they're already at such a big gold deficit. I feel like that stopwatch is more of an item when you're up 1,000 gold than down, but not that many options that work when you're down 6,000 gold, to be completely honest, as they might have an angle onto Saint here, but he just dashes away.
Yep, just walks back to his tower pretty easily there.
Again, that play just opens up the mid wave for Berserker to hit again, but this could be the Drake that they end up fighting, because this is Soul Point.
Yeah, they're going to TP now. Dhokla's coming in. The True Shot Barrage will tag Darkwings, and now a TP coming in as well from Impact. They're going to summon up the Battle Herald. We'll see how they can use this to start off the fight. Impact just charging up that Rage Bar as Inspired gets in the Herald, and here he comes. Is it going to be a car crash for Sentinels? They are running. He's knocking on multiple members. Starting out the fight as HamBak goes in the backline onto Berserker. Crescent Guard is popped. Impact on the side, trying to get some action done here. The shockwave across 3 members. Isles is low, has to flash out. HamBak looking to threaten, going back in. Sage is stunned up, and he is shut down there by Rahel. What a shockwave from Darkwings over the wall. Gets multiple members and wins the fight almost single-handedly for Sentinels.
And it looks like Sentinels is going to be on Soul Point, and this is what we talked about. It was the best play available for Sentinels to give waves to be closer to Soul Point, because then if one good fight like that happens, they now have a realistic window of winning the game. So Inspired clearly wants to fight this Drake. They teleport in, they drop the Herald, they have Mega Gnar timing, but they can't get a clean engage on anyone other than the Xin, who's not someone who's very one-shottable.
Oh, that was close.
Yeah, really quick teleport. We saw Wei in the pip right there, but let's watch this fight one more time as Dhokla's Mega. Inspired doesn't find a great pick. They're not willing to chase through for Darkwings, and then a large amount of patience. Everyone groups up around Xin to get inside the altitude damage, but they're not going to want to watch that one in review, because there's no way you plan on all grouping up around an alted Xin for an Orianna Shockwave, and that gets the shutdown on the same.
I think their thought process was, oh, Inspired has the carries pushed out. Let's kill the jungler, and then we'll get the dragon. And, well, Inspired didn't have them pushed out all by himself. He can't do that much on his own. And as a result, like you say, that's one they're going to want back here in review, as they are stacked up for that shockwave, and Darkwings makes them pay. Zhonya's or not, still going to do some damage, and he is now 15, pushing towards that rank 3 shockwave, which can be a game changer.
Yeah, but a little bit of a game change there. Like, Darkwings finally got to push a wave by himself for kind of the first time ever. Saint and Dhokla both in the same wave, so slight farm inefficiencies for LYON for the first time right here after that teamfight win by Sentinels.
I like the tech here for Rahel, going for some anti-shielding itemization, as Dominant's going to be popped here for Impact. Are they going to find the shockwave? They are. Dhokla gets pulled back, and Dhokla gets cut in half by the Croc with the help of the shockwave there. Nice roam from Darkwings, just trails his Renekton and is able to get a kill on a Dhokla.
Really nice push deep top lane, got some gold for himself, comes bot lane, matches up, manages to take Dhokla down. Sentinels feeling like they're a little bit more organized in the driver's seat here, still 5,000 gold down. But LYON, as much as we talked about Sentinels not being able to create good fights, LYON hasn't really been able to create good fights either, with their only attempt being at that last Drake.
Absolutely true. And had looked like everything was going according to plan, that they were going to win that fight. It did not happen, and now huhi caught by the Cataclysm. True Shot Barrage will not connect, but that is a flashless fish there for the next 5 minutes.
Yep, so he will have no flash at the next Drake. They need to be able to have at least a carry or a support that they're able to execute. So Inspired tried the redemption spike there, redemption on top of Cataclysm to get the kill. Not successful, but the flash is good to burn.
It'll be fun to see how effective the Serpent's Fang actually is, because there's Karma Shield, there's Jarvan W, there's Sterix Shield, there's you know, the Azir Shield, there's all of these tools. Obviously, it is just recently purchased, so not going to have done much yet, but will be fun to track to see if that was a worthwhile purchase, because traditionally the most common pro build now is Collector third, and then they go IE, but now you have no crit in your build, so IE is going to be pushed back, you know, much further, and we'll have to see if that Serpent's Fang does pay off. Yeah,
I think it's a tremendous anti-shield item. And Karma with Moonstone does pump out a lot of shields, not to mention the Azir shield from E or the Jarvan shield from W. So there'll be, I'm going to be checking that number. Currently it's at 0 because he just purchased it and has
not a big number.
But this next fight in a minute 40 could be game deciding, because a lot of the damage from LYON is going to be poke anyway, with Berserker having the biggest gold lead in the game. And if you have an Ocean Soul Orianna Nami, that's going to make up for the gold deficit.
It is going to be a big deal for sure. LYON going to want to make sure that they are locked in for this fight. They do still have a very big advantage. Third item completion starting to come through here. You can see Spirit Visage done now for Inspired. He's just going to be running at Darkwings, I feel like. That's going to be his job. Just keep Darkwings out of the fight and allow your carries to knock down their front line. Because if Inspired can push back the Ori, I feel like the fights are going to be pretty darn hard to win for Sentinels.
Yeah, they have so much range with the Azir and the Ezreal, which can typically keep lanes pushed. I mean, there's even a chance that if they have this bot and mid wave pushed deep enough, that Sentinels doesn't even move in for this Drake, because previously LYON had been prioritizing gold and then needing to enter the Drake, but with the current state of the map, like, they're not allowing this space to be taken at all. So it's now Sentinels that has to walk in, and that's when LYON might go for a fight.
You can see Impact has moved early, already down towards mid lane, where Dhokla, as usual, just continuing to push. Berserker just shifts forward as HamBak is trying to wrap around on Saint. Will they go for him right here, right now? 4 members wrapping in on Saint. Saint is just going to shift back towards his tower, and the TPing Dhokla. Inspired is in the area, but LYON are still very sectioned off. Can HamBak find a fight? Dhokla going to be looking for huhi. huhi without flash, as you said. He's going to be the first casualty in this fight. Impact popping the dominance, flashing in. They're going to try to turn this one around. Can they burst down Inspired? Cataclysm comes out, but he's knocked down during the flag and drag. Dhokla on the side, dueling against Rahel, but Rahel is winning that one. HamBak goes back in with the Crescent Guard, but is pushed back by the Emperor's Divide. LYON continuing the fight as Berserker shifts forward. Mystic Shot after Mystic Shot connecting. Impact has to run. The shift is back up. Impact is low. He has got to get out of there.
But LYON has to keep fighting. They have no jungler, so if Sentinel was able to start the Dragon, they'd be able to win the Smite fight. It's just Impact is low, and Berserker is poking. Looking at Summoner spells, there's still flash on both LYON carries.
The True Shot Barrage just barely misses Impact, but his recall was stopped. DARKWINGS has TP'd back, rejoined the team. Dhokla charging up the Narbar
LYON
now.
has to fight. They
but
can't let them hit
Sentinels,
this.
they're just giving it. Their jungler is dead. They don't feel they can get back in. Can Berserker have a miracle steal here? It is not looking likely. That is soul for Sentinels. LYON controlling the game, it felt like, for 20+ minutes, but back-to-back fights. Sentinels just makes it happen at the Dragons.
That was such a chaotic sequence, starting with the attempted play. Now LYON's going for a fight.
Has to flash out. The Mystic Shot goes wide, so they do at least push him back, and they get his flash and ulti.
I'm surprised at the way this ended. Not really surprised with the way it started. So a nice overload there by Sentinels to not create good fight lines for LYON to start with, but for instance, when they get the...
back to LYON, huhi's in trouble. He's going to get knocked back by the Emperor's Divide, as is HamBak. HamBak pops the Crescent Guard, but it does absolutely nothing. Rahel on the run, but you got nowhere to go. It's a double for Berserker as he is going crazy. The knock-up from Inspired comes through. The tether route is there. Impact is going to fall as well. LYON may just end the game. Flag, drag, knock-up. The Zonias will only buy you some time, but it changes nothing at the end of the day. It's a quadra for Berserker, and LYON may have just won the game.
I think it's actually over. They find a pick in the jungle. 20 seconds on HamBak, 8 seconds on huhi, but all 5 are alive for LYON, and that mid wave could not get to the Nexus fast enough for LYON.
Isles trying to keep them away here at the Nexus, just zoning them back, but LYON are knocking down these towers, and LYON may have stumbled in the Dragon fights, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. 31 minutes in, the Nexus will fall. LYON take game number 1.
I mean, Berserker ends 7-0-1. Chat, let us know who your player of the game. Inspired controlled it, kind of. What a weird game. It's like we built up to some crescendo that never happened, and if you just skipped the Dragon Soul, you'd think, oh yeah, by the way, that game that LYON was winning, they totally won. Right, Lounge?
Yeah, I was setting up for a Sentinels win segment.
Yeah. but so much is happening back and forth in this game. Inspired was definitely right coming into this series that Sentinels has some fight in them.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about where it was going to come from Sentinels. They'd focused on their early game. I really liked how LYON approached the early game in response. But yeah, Sentinels kind of got a few punches in before then